Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As I'm driving into work, uh, my drive into work is where I tend to do a lot of my thinking and trying to figure things out and see where I want to go. And I'm having an issue in my research. I'm looking at the intersectionality between the systemic and institutional oppression that African Americans have historically endured and the effect of this systemic and institutional oppression on educational attainment of African American Muslims in higher education. So we have a couple different issues that are in play here. We have the systemic and institutional aspect. We have the racism aspect. We have the demographic of African Americans and all of the variables included in that. We also have the issue of education and higher education, the impact. Here's the problem that I'm having. I'm having a problem with finding African American Muslim educators who are upon the Qur'an and the Sunnah who are writing about these issues. Because when you do academic research, when you do advanced PhD, master's degree level research, you normally build upon that which precedes you. And you look for gaps in the research. You look where maybe there was a weakness in the field, and you fill that gap. You add to the field. You add something. You bring something new. The problem that I'm having is finding qualified African American Muslims who are educators, who are writing on these issues. You don't necessarily have to be an educator because, again, we're talking intersectionality. So, racism in higher education concerning African Americans. There's a plethora of work on that. But when we talk about, or we add the variable of the Muslim, the African American Muslim, then it becomes problematic. Where are the black educators who are upon the Qur'an and the Sunnah who sort of focus on these issues? Even in focusing on African American Muslims, I had pushback from the powers that be in my university. And I belong to an Islamic university. They wanted to make the focus Muslims as a minority in America. And I had to really push for the focus to be us. Why am I specifying and why am I so adamant about us? And it's because I feel like other demographics, the Palestinians, the Egyptians, different African countries and things, I feel like they have representation. I feel like they have those who speak for them and those who elucidate their issues and things that are specific to them. But African Americans, we seem to be sort of left by the wayside. There is issue with African Americans. When you look at the statistics, our educational attainment, African American women, we're talking just women, African Americans in general, but African American women, they have a high rate of success in higher education, whereas black males do not. I'm looking at, again, why is this? And what is the effect on the systems and institutions that have been perpetuating racism and institutional oppression? How has that affected African American Muslims? Again, I'm having to deal with, or let me tell you what I'm finding. I'm finding a lot of non-Muslims writing on these issues. It's not that I can't find documentation, peer-reviewed journals and articles, academic, that speak to some of this stuff, but they always seem to be written by non-Muslims. So I'm finding holes and gaps and discrepancies and possibly outright lies in reference to Islam, things they say, things they reference to Muslims, things they reference to Islam, things they reference to people of color. I'm finding discrepancies, like we're not representing ourselves. And as long as we don't represent ourselves, then people are going to tell our story for us. We're not going to be the ones who are explaining and giving context and you know, understanding or giving understanding of the nuances and things. We're going to be, you know, our story is going to be told for us. And when the story is told for us, then that, you know, carries the weight of resources. It carries the weight of perception globally, how we're viewed, identity, how we view ourselves. There's a lot that goes into not controlling your own agency, not telling your own story, not being responsible for your own education. Anyway, I have to be at work in just a few minutes, so I made this quick one in the parking lot, you know, and these are some of the thoughts that were going through my head while I drove into work this morning. I hope everyone has a blessed day. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.